Hitch. There is a dust cap on there. They don't always sit on there perfectly.
Yep.
So they'll articulate. They will be stiff from new. There we go. Articulates all around. They're probably a bit harder to hitch up than a 50mm ball hitch because you've got to be pretty precise.
Yep.
So once you've got your pin up, press that red button, you're locked on. To unhitch, you just press that button and unlock.
Yep.
So just keep a bit of grease up. Always recommend you have a can of CRC handy in the van. Just keep things lubed up and all nice and lubed. There is a grease point here. Keep it greased up. Once again, handbrake. Just make sure it's in the fully off position. After a while, after your first few hundred Ks, these cables will stretch.
Yep.
Your brakes will bed in. You'll lose a bit of adjustment on your handbrake. It is adjustable here. You can slack that off, take the slack out of the cable, and then you'll get more adjustment. Because everything will bed in. So this is your breakaway switch here. Connects to the vehicle. You're meant to connect it to the vehicle, not a shackle or whatever, but it depends on every vehicle. It may not have a point. The idea is to keep the van and the car connected. In the event the van becomes separated, it'll pull this pin out like such.
Yep.
And then you'll notice the anti-sway, lipper anti-sway system will have a code, green, and it will flash red eventually. What as it did before. Let's try it again. So basically what that does is it activates the brakes for 15 minutes.
So with the green like that, is that the brakes activated?
No, it should flash red. I'll get Darren to just double check that's after they sit for a bit, sometimes you need to recalibrate them.
Isn't there a battery that needs charging or something? Or is that
should charge off the house battery.
Okay, yep.
So the standard function of that is green's good.
Green's good, yep. Oh, obviously red is
yeah, so there is, it'll have different code. Green, red. That's all on the manual. You can diagnose if there's any issues with that. So I'll get Darren to have a quick look there.
Obviously I've got to get shackles for these, or
you'll need D shackles, rated D shackles.
To what rating? 3.5 ton.
Yeah, 3 ton, something like that. Yeah.
And the ones with the hook on them, are they okay, or do you need the actual?
I've heard that they're not so good.
Yeah.
I know I saw an ad the other day online for Autobahn. They had the hooks in there, and all these other people wrote in saying they're not the right thing. So depends who you listen to.
Yep.
These chain hooks, just be aware that those edges can be sharp.
Yep.
Like that one there is quite sharp, so they probably get filed off or whatever. Your umbilical cord. You've got your 12-pin plug, you've got your Anderson plug. They're very generous in their length. So I usually use reusable cable ties or those Velcro straps that you get for cable tidies, that sort of thing. So with your vehicle you need an Anderson plug, 12-pin plug and a brake controller. Jockey wheel does everything a jockey wheel does. It's got a grease nipple on it, once again just keep some grease up to it. Don't tow with the jockey wheel on, so that's got to be fully removed. When you undo the jockey wheel, there's washers there. When you undo that, they'll fall off. So just be aware that you'll chase washers.
And just keep that in the back of the edge.
Or in there. I wouldn't put it in there.
No, so for sure.
And you'll work out. Every vehicle is different. You work out the height to where the jockey wheel is located because of the clamp anywhere. Some people just get a texture and mark it, so then when you put your jockey wheel on, because you want a certain amount of extension. If you park on unlevel ground, sometimes you wind your jockey wheel down to hitch up, you run out of jockey wheel,
Yeah.
and then you're stuck,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So yeah, it's a matter of trial and error
Yeah.
with that. Gas bottles on the front. Always tow the gas bottles off,
Yes.
but I've got one on, so we can test the gas. So they're off. You've got these new toolless connectors. It still has the internal POL fitting like a standard gas bottle, but they do a right hand thread because some people can't get their head around left hand thread gas fittings. And then you can switch between the bottles. So some people, because that's on the user side, they use this as your main bottle and then switch over to this one as like a backup. Front tray there, recommend, we basically call it a stone guard. It's not really designed to carry heavy stuff. You put hoses, your silage hoses, whatever. Obviously, I'd put some sort of strapping system or whatever, just so they don't bounce out, but so many people just say they throw the hoses in there. They've driven around for 10 years and never lost a hose. Your front boot here, you've got your compliance plates, so that's got your VIN number, all your weights, etc. You do have an LED light here. This will gather condensation.
Yes.
There's no two ways about it, mainly because of the metal. So early in the morning, when we pulled this out first thing, all the vans are dripping, that's all there's water around. They just gather condensation. This would have had a condensation, so I wouldn't put anything like electrical. People think, you know, I'll put a generator in there. I wouldn't go doing that. Hoses, jocker wheels, whatever. There is a bung plug here. So you can fill it full of ice. Use it as a big esky.
Painting it? Could you put like a rubber sealing stuff on it, or is that not?
Oh, you could, as long as it's prepared properly. You'd have to etch it, like scrub it up. So I mean, it is a galvanised plate. But it will gather moisture. There's no two ways about it. And they don't really guarantee that even towing that you won't get moisture build up. Let's take the keys off. Should have come off before, but anyway. So that's just look. We'll go through the keys later down the track. That'll be the keys for here. That'll be the little hexagonal. So I recommend you just lock everything down. We'll go through that in a minute. Your front screen, it's got knurled nuts either side, so you just back them off. The knurling on them is not really substantial, if you know what I mean. And if they can bind on, which way are we going? So that's anti-clockwise, both sides. When you lock it down, do a real deliberate lock. And just give it a pull.
Sure it's all fair
So to unlock it, to open it, you undo your nuts,
Yeah.
squeeze them together, and it'll pull out. And when you put it down, just make sure it's secured. Do out your nuts. The first semi-trailer that goes past you on the highway, that'll fly off because that's secured. So it's secured. So that's one of the pre-travel checks, is just make sure that's secured. The other one obviously is to make sure your gas is off, jockey wheel's off, and all your hitch is appropriate. On your four corners, you get your stabiliser legs. So generally you just lift them up to support it and then pull that out. Get your angle of the dangle. So this is just to stabilise the van, it's not meant to lift it or anything like that. There's a manual winder in the boot, which I'll show you. Or most people have a cordless drill, 70mm socket. Just keeps the CRC up to these as well, because they do collect dust and stuff off the road. So when you put them up, get it up to whatever level, just give it a good shake. Make sure it's locked in. You don't want it dropping down. And that's probably condensation still coming off the van.
Coming all the way down from the top.
I think they had ice on them this morning.
It's frozen up and lobster.
So your front access boot.
Yeah.
You do have an indicator light up here. These do charge off the house batteries.
Okay.
So they should be pretty much
Should be good
maintenance
to go.
free.
Yeah.
Lock your front hatch. You've got your gas, electric, hot water service. Pretty much maintenance free. Maybe periodically just undo those 2 screws, take the cover off. Make sure there's no leaves, wasp nest or something like that. Be aware that once it's been operating, this will get hot. So if there's young kids around or you're coming late on a Saturday night, don't grab hold of it.
So what is there? Is there a little sort of a hot water system in there that heats up a little with gas or electricity? And it's only about 30 litres or so?
28 litre these
28
are.
litres,
So behind here, under your bed, there's a 28 litre
Yeah.
reservoir.
Yeah.
You don't have to replace the anodes. Years ago, you had to replace the sacrificial anode.
Yeah.
These are a stainless steel tank, so there's pretty much no maintenance.
All right.
And they operate fully automatic.
Yeah.
And watch the windows. I was going to say on the inside, when you open the windows, they're pretty much head height. So you just got to be wary if your windows are open.
Yeah.
Because I don't normally have the windows open. It's just it got too hot in there. I wanted to get a bit of cool air in there. You've got normally you have 2 battery boxes, but your batteries are mounted under your bed.
So that's the Anderson.
So that's the Anderson that goes directly to your batteries. You could use a regulated or unregulated solar panel.
Does that go directly to the batteries or does it go to the
It goes through the battery management,
Yeah.
but it charges straight to the batteries. Yeah.
So that's what I put in the extra fold out solar panel. Yep.
With your wheels, after about your first 100 Ks, just check your wheel nuts. Just make sure they're tensioned correctly. Everything's brand new, bedding in, so check all your wheel nuts. The standard recommended tyre pressure is 50 psi. You can read a lot of stuff on forums. That'll vary, road conditions, where you're going, but that's the standard 50 psi. 2 95 litre water tanks. Once they're locked, they'll just spin around. Recommend keeping everything locked. People do strange things to your water.
So you just shove a hose in there.
Correct, yep.
Doesn't do a nipple or anything like that.
No,
Yep.
just a hose into there.
And when they fall, it just comes back up.
Yeah, just spews
goes
out.
up there,
Your 2 water tanks do have drain taps on them.
Yes.
So if you want to drain the water or flush it out, whatever.
Yeah.
Just on the front here. That's your town water inlet.
Yes.
That's just a standard garden fitting.
Yep.
I recommend brass fittings. They just work better. So that'll have the male part. Some people recommend getting just a cheapo plastic one, filling one end of silicone, whack it on there, just so you don't get dirt and bugs and stuff.
Yeah.
So once you're connected to town water, you can turn your water pump off and you're on mains pressure.
Yeah.
This does not fill your water tanks. This is just purely water in. One-way valve, so once you disconnect, water won't come back out the system. So if you're connected to mains pressure or you've got your water tank on, then you can use your tap. It won't flow now because there's no pressure on it. And you can put put a hose in there, wash your feet, wash the dog, whatever you want to do. You've got 2 vents here. This is for your fridge, just the ventilation. Once again, periodically, if you lift these up, they're quite hard. Lift these levers up, you can pull the screen off.
Yes.
There's nothing in there, apart from spare parts. There's nothing really in there serviceable. But once again, just keep an eye for leaves, bugs, that sort of thing.
Yep.
There are 2 slots here. Then you just need to engage those. They sort of go in at an angle.
2 tongues.
Yep. Push it in, lock them down, and then give it a wiggle. If it's not on properly, it'll fly off.
So this was for the gas, really for the gas heater, or the gas fridge, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it's just a vent for the
So,
heat and stuff for the fridge operating. Your 15 amp, that's your main power in. Antenna in, some places have external TV antennas or cable TV or whatever.
Yep.
That's your antenna in. You've got your toilet cassette. Once again, lock it because these units are worth about $200, and
Get an
if someone wants a spare one. To operate the green lever, lift that up, pull it out, grab hold of the handle. There's a vent plug here, press that, and it just releases any pressure build-up. You've got your carry-on luggage handle, so you can do your walk of shame at 5 o'clock at night. Pull that out, undo that, down you go. The silver handle we'll see on the inside. When you put it back in, it sort of self-locates. It's got little ridges it sits on. Just put a deliberate push in. Here we go, click.
Yep.
If you don't push it in properly, you'll get a warning light inside and the unit won't work. A lot of different chemicals you can use, chemicals and sachets and tablets and liquids, and you find what's suitable for you and just follow the directions. I think you generally put a litre of water in the tank. That's a 19 litre tank. Can't tell you how many flushes you'll get because it depends on water pressure and whatever. But yeah, just follow the directions on the chemicals. You've got a 100 litre grey water tank. Yep. You've got your outlet there. You can connect to a solid hose. If you're at a park, you can connect a dump straight into the point where you're at.
And it's obviously a drain hole on the drain plug on the right hand side there.
Correct. Yep. Now we might have to send you a wheel cover. We've actually run out. We've only got 15-inch wheel covers, so we'll sort one out for you. You've got your wireless reverse camera. The wireless reverse camera needs either your parkers or your headlights on because it gets powered through the marker lights. So you need either your parker lights on or your headlights on for that camera to get power.
Right.
So people have said, oh, the camera's not working, it's not, you need your lights on.
Yep. Right.
A lot of people tow with that on all the time.
Yeah, so you can see what's coming.
See what's behind you, see that motorbike that's sitting behind you that you don't want to run over.
Yeah. So it comes with a screen and all that.
Yep,
goes
so you got a
on
7-inch screen inside.
All right.
Front tunnel boot hatch, LED light,
Yeah.
compliance plates in the front. There's your manual tool, winder tool for your stabiliser legs.
Yes, sir.
That tool there is for the awning, which we'll go through last.
Yeah.
You've got a bottle jack, which is rated to 4,000 kilos. That locates just by your mud flap here.
Okay.
So you've got a jack point either side.
Yep.
It comes with a rectangular block, which then locates into that, and it'll jack the entire side of the van up on the side. Hopefully you won't need it. You've got your Bluetooth speakers on the outside, Bluetooth speakers on the inside. Standard stereo, like a car stereo, does everything a car stereo does. Your balance is front and back, your fade is inside outside.
Okay. And that's pushing in the volume.
Yeah, we'll go through that. It's just basically the knob, that's all the menu settings. You've got an antenna out, you've got a standard cigarette socket, 12 volt out, and your standard 10 amp 240 volt out if you want to run, put a boom box out or whatever you want to do. On the front of the chassis here, there is a bayonet fitting located here, which you can connect a gas line to.
Yep.
You also have an gas isolation to this fitting.
All right. Now that just half a turn it pops out or something.
Yep.
Like
So
this?
just counterclockwise. Just drop it on my head. Counterclockwise, and it should just drop out. Oh, let's doing it up. It was already undone, I think. There we go.
Okay.
Yep. And just locate the plug. Up and done. It's rated to 30 kilos. I don't know if I'll put 30 kilos on it myself. There is a light here, light switch, LED lights, a bit hard to see in the daytime. Good preparation table. I just use my hip, give it a bit of a lift and then undo, otherwise you're struggling with two things. These do not lock shut, but I've never heard of one coming undone, so that's important to make sure that that's just locked. I'll just check this is not the boss room. So, picnic table.
You can take it if you want.
Step.
Okay, sure.
Up. Out.
Just push like that.
Yep.
Easy
And then I always give it a bit of a stomp just to make sure it's locked so you don't. You've got your outside Saturday night grab handle. Red button just under here, turns it on off.
Okay, cool.
Your door, these wires lock in. Some of them are really stiff to get off if you don't have nails, and that just comes out, locks onto the wall there. To separate the door, simply lift this lever here. Door separates, you can shut the door, and you've got the screen. Now the door has a 3 lock mechanism which is activated, which we'll go through when we do the keys. There's a bit of a trick to doing it. But if you push the handle to the right, the lock engages. So if your door won't shut, chances are it's been turned to the right. So just turn it to the left, done. It locks back into the 2 lock mechanisms there. I'll just put my hands either side of the door handle and just give it a deliberate click. It's secure. You've got your roller blind here. Just make sure that's nipped up. If it's windy, it'll flap around, annoy the hell out of you, or damage the fabric. That's pretty much it outside, apart from the awning, which I said we'll do last. So if you want to jump aboard. So on the entry, we've got a fire extinguisher. And the smoke alarm is probably down yonder. The smoke alarm just up here. Just periodically test that.
I presume it's the same. Same as a high
9-volt battery. So on entry, by the door there, we've got your power management system. So you have the PM300. So you've got your light switches here. The main button you'll use is the second one, called the load button. Generally you have to press it once to wake it up. Press and hold it. Sometimes you've got to press it twice. There we go. Now 12 volts off. Everything's off. Press it back on. Or press it once to wake it up. Press it again. 12 volts back on. Now these light switches. So it'll be a matter of working out which is which. That one there is your awning light this side. I do believe you have an awning light on the other side. I know, so that's your bedroom lights. That's your main lights, and that'll be the offside awning light. So it's really these 2 for inside, top ones, outside lights. The pump button, once you press it, you'll see a little green icon come on there. That's turning your water pump on. So if you go to mains water, press that, green icon disappears, now you're on mains pressure. So if you're off grid and you want to use your water or your toilet, that's got to be on.
So you can't leave it on all the time, or do you?
Oh, you can, but if you're connected to mains, it's just better to turn it off. Silent is it just blacks the screen out. So at night you don't get a reflection off it here. And light is just turns the back light on again. And that's pretty much it. It's got all your levels, so you got your freshwater tanks. I can't tell you which one's which. I don't really. Grey water, it'll tell you your battery levels, the power coming in, the power going out. So just read through your manual on that and just become familiar with it. It's always good to know what's going on. It's they're pretty straightforward. And sometimes you've got to get it at the right level, but I can't see it from here. You've got to be at the right level, which is probably at that level to read the data. That's pretty much it. You get your grab handle on the inside. Got your entry cupboards. So these locking mechanisms, you just press the button, you can open them, and just make sure they're locked. Pretty straightforward. I would go to the front there. So you got your hanging space, you've got the cutouts, the nooks on the side, 240 volt power points. Any power point that's white is 240 volt only, so these, although these have USB points, they're 240 volt only. Just turn them off. You've got your overheads, same thing. All the cupboards have gas struts on them. So after a while, after a bit of travel, these handles can come a bit loose. So the idea is just level them, just nip these two screws up, just to tighten up. They'll just settle in. Most they should all be nice and tight, but yeah. You've got your two reading lights, and they articulate 360 degrees. Once you've moved them a few times, these heads will unscrew. Yeah. So just tighten them up. Once you've moved them a few times, they'll just come a bit loose. You can put them as an uplight or whatever. Same both sides. Now in that cupboard there will be the cushions for your lift up footrests. So just put them there to stow them away. Your Sirocco fans. So when that's in that position, they're locked. So you just lift the cam, then you can adjust it, turn it, whatever. The button, one button will be your speeds. So you got 3 speeds. It won't cut your finger off.
Okay.
So the other button on the other side, you'll notice the blue light going up in increments. That's a timer, which I think is around about half an hour each, so you can go put the fan off 2 hours, go to the full level, will turn itself off. These do not articulate. Yep. We had someone, I noticed an email yesterday to warranty saying, our Sirocco fans have stopped articulating. It's like, they never did. They never will. So when you're going to travel, park it back here, put the cam up, and then I'll just sit there. Might as well go through these windows here. So your windows have 2 split screens. Release, pull that back. If you slam them together too hard, this clip can fly off and it just pushes back on. These are silver reflective, so at night time, if you put them all the way up, all the screens up, it'll turn your van black. It's really dark. If you're going to sit around in your jocks, you'll work out head height. Yep. Nobody can see in, you can have the screens open. Always travel with all the screens fully open. Otherwise the fabric can distort, etc. So simply like that, whichever way you want to go. With windows, we'll start from the closed position. So to open the windows, simply press the red button. Handle goes into, so if you ever see a handle, it's not locked. Yep. So I just recommend it's either open or shut and locked. Then you can't get into strife. And as I found out, as you saw before, once it's open, you're going to crack your head up. Yep. They always seem to be right at head height. They are pretty rounded, so they're not going to split your head open, but just be aware of it. You can shut it and lock it into that center position, as such, and that's just, the window's just cracked open. Yeah. It'll only do the bottom 2. You can't do it to these 2. But generally, once the window's shut, lock it. The window's locked. So these are double glazed polycarbonate. So
these are the aluminium frames, aren't they?
Aluminium frame, yeah. So they're not the ones I had issues with a couple of years ago. If you ever notice the fabric sagging, it's generally usually the fly screen. This one's a bit more rigid. If you ever see them sagging a bit, you can adjust them. There's a hex screw at the top here and one down here. I just pointed out there is a YouTube fix for it. It's quite simple, the Allen key. It's just if it sags, you'll end up jamming it, and it's not good for it. So when you do use the screens, I recommend even pressure on the side. If you pull one side, you'll skew it, you'll jam it. So yeah, travel position, everything fully open. Over in this corner here, in this cupboard, there will be, and don't be surprised if you find these everywhere. These are those, the hole plugs. They just tend to throw them in there, or they'll fall out. So if you see, and I guarantee I'll put this one in now and I'll lose it in the hole. There is a power point in here, which is for your electric hot water service. That generally just leave that on. I'll just double check it's on. So that's on. Just put the cable in. So these cupboards aren't very deep.
Okay. Chokes and socks.
Yeah. So that's an isolation for the electric. I just like to point out isolation points. So if you're parking up for months, you can just turn everything off. Then you go through your regime of turning things back on. We'll go through the hatch with that hatch down the back. It's just easier because it's not over the bed. But there is an independent light switch for the hatch here. So just be aware where it is, because when it's a bit darker,
can't find it.
It's a bit harder to see. Your bed will lift up, and you do have the frame that pulls out. So that's fully retracted. You can pull it out, pull it forward a little bit. On the side you put your pillows there. Give it more headroom. You can get a bolster, so if you're hitting 6 foot, you can pull the bed right further forward. Put a bolster. That lifts up. So you've got your 2 batteries mounted under here, on the bed. Now, it does pay to just read the manual. I've never seen one of these units before. This section here, which is your main unit, can actually be separated from that box and relocated elsewhere.
There's a cable foot,
so I'll show you that the cable's in the drawer here. You've got a main breaker switch here, so when it's on, just test it. That's off. There is a power button here. Press and hold it, turn the unit on and off. Sorry, it's off on. Press and hold it, now the unit's off. Press and hold that, the inverter's now on, and now you can get, that's connected to your 240s, and you can run power out of this as well. 2000 watts. Generally you'd probably find that if you want to use an appliance, you can only use one at a time. If you have the microwave on, you turn the air conditioner on, it'll trip off. There's a second button there, and it just goes through modes. It tells you what it's doing. It tells you some settings. Probably best just to read through the manual and just see how that works. You've got a secondary breaker switch there, so if the unit doesn't power on, just check that. That's pretty much it with that. The hot water service.
Yes.
You shouldn't need to use it. That's only like a service thing. You do have a steel frame. A lot of the older vans are all timber and that. So just be aware that when you drop the bed down, just support it the last couple of inches. Otherwise, you're going to go bang. And probably have your frame right to the edge of the mattress. It's got a bit of leeway there. Up in the corner here, you've got an isolation switch for your electric element on your stovetop. 90% of the people I speak to don't even use electric. Just turn it off, leave it off, it's isolated. So if the plate's not working, there's a couple of different places you can check. One of them's here. You've got 2 240 volt outlets. You've got a 12 volt outlet for your TV. TV mounts onto the arm here. Simply push that button, lift it up. Don't jam your finger in it like I did. Once your TV's on, never toe with it on the wall, face down on the bed. So your 12 volt, which you can plug in any cigarette socket appliance. If you've got like a USB charger, if you're not using TV, so you've got a 12 volt outlet there. You've got your antenna out to your TV. In the drawer here, you'll find a coax cable and such. and I'll go through that top drawer in a sec. There's also a button on the this switch, which is an antenna booster. Press it on, the LED comes on. Press it off, it's off. Now, the reason I put that on there is at night time you don't have that red light in your eye, so you can turn it on, turn it off. Wind up antenna. So counterclockwise, the antenna is now coming up, and you should be able to see it up there. Once it starts to resist, just stop. Now so the antenna's up in its upright position. Now to tune it in, which is to pivot it, you pull this down and that spins around. So now it's going like this. You'll notice two arrows. There's one arrow mounted to the roof, one arrow mounted to this unit. Align those two up.
Before you close it.
Now it's back in its home position. When you come back down, once again, usually you hear it go thud. You sort of hear it. It comes down and sits in it like a keeper. It does pay to visualise, just have a look. There could be a pine cone or a possum or a small child up there. So just make sure that's... And once it resists, just stop, because the handles are only plastic. If you go jamming it, you'll snap it off. Simple as that. That just moves back in its home position, and that will articulate so you can move from here to the front here. Microwave does everything a microwave does. All the standard settings. It doesn't have a rotating carousel, it's a flat plate. If you ever want to know if you're on 240 volt, if that clock's on, you're on 240, and that's why basically we check, we plug your van in, look through the window, if that's on, you're on 240 volt. The power for that, excuse me, is just in this cupboard here. That's where we put the cable in. So if you want to isolate it, turn that off, or you've got an extra power point, you know, whatever you want to do. Once again, you find them everywhere. Move along, get your stereo. You get your power in the top left-hand corner. As I said, it does everything a car stereo does. Press the, you got your mode button, so you get your AM, FM, Bluetooth, so you can Bluetooth to it. All the controls, that's pressing the knob, volume, loud on, equalizer. Then you can adjust the bass, the balance, the fade. Like I explained, the fades in and out. Balances front and rear. You do have a USB, so you can either use that to play stuff to your TV or charge. And you also have an auxiliary in, so you can connect it, a tablet or a phone through the cable. That has the DVD CD player on that one.
So the DVD in there, and obviously goes through to the...
That's it. Power off. Don't know if this one, some of them you can change the colour, the display colour and that. But yeah, just go through the manual. It's a standard car stereo. Top drawer here. So this is the cable that connects to that remote unit.
For the display.
For the, and it's a an infrared extender. Don't even know what that comes with for, because there's no remote for it. I've never seen one of these before in my life.
Alright. It's obviously in the instruction book.
So all your manuals will be here. You'll find spare parts. That's probably for mounting the microwave or something like that. You get the keys to remove the stereo, that sort of thing. So pretty much all your manuals are there. Your bottom door here is a drop flat door. All the others will be drawers, and they'll all be a bit stiff, just so they hold shut. Remote here, that's for your stereo, for your car stereo. The other remote there for the aircon. That does everything an aircon does. Power button. Turn it on. It'll come on in a sec. That's right. So it's got all the features of a standard air conditioner. It's got the sleep function, timer, different modes, dehumidifier, fan, air conditioner, etc., etc. If this, and you can manually set it on and off. Generally, you've got to press that button once, then press the holder for 3 seconds. You can just turn the unit off. You can scroll through the menus and stuff. It's usually just easy to use the remote. If that doesn't work for any reason, there is an isolation panel up here, which I'll go through in a sec. But so the aircon does everything an aircon does, and it'll get very warm in here. Or very cool.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that in there and just find a good location for your cradle. I might turn that off because it's going to heat up to 22 degrees and actually get warm in here. Had it running this morning, and that's why I had the windows open. Over here you've got your range hood. Power on, you get 3 speeds. And then you have a light also, nice and bright.
So that just vents out.
Straight out there. Well, there's a vent on that outside the wall. Press the button and it shuts everything off. Obviously, filters removal, so it depends on how much you use it. Rinse it out in soapy water. Cooktop. So you've got your one electric, so obviously this is not going to work because I've got it isolated up there. If I turn that back on, orange light will come on. It takes about 20 seconds for that warm up, but it does work. Gas. Obviously just press the gas in, turn it on, click, click, click. Got gas. Sometimes you've got to hold it for a couple of seconds for them to stay on. Nice and warm. If you shut the lid, it'll cuts off, isolates it. Just remember to turn the gas off. I'll check the grill because normally they leave the instructions in there, which is dangerous. Because we're at a show once and someone turned the gas on and obviously we had smoky. Obviously a smaller grill, good for tasty cheese. There's a little cover plate here, so it's like a splatter guard and also just keeps the heat off the plastic knobs. That's pretty much it. All these are just standard overhead storage. You get your AM FM antenna going up the wall there. Covered here, they do a pretty good job of keeping the plumbing out of the way. So they'll use stacks of silicone, which is a good thing. Better than seeing none. So they do sort of do it so that you can fit stuff in there. Just be aware, there's notices everywhere. There's one up there, one in the skylight, one in that skylight. Just saying, if you're using gas, have a window open, be vented. I'd always recommend putting a CO2 sensor in. About $30 in Bunnings, and they should come with a repair.
I've got
it. If you've got internal gas, they should just come with it. But once again, you've got a triple lock system here. So you pull out pantry, you can adjust the baskets, and they pretty much self-close. Once there's a bit of weight in there, that's why they put triple locks on there, like cans and jars. There'll be a fair bit of weight. And a couple shelf or a shelf in there. Top cupboard is going to be small because you've got the larger fridge. So the fridge operates pretty simply. Press and hold. Pretty much automatic. Okay. 240 volt or
and that'll automatically switch on to whatever.
So automatic sensing. You've got an adjustment. The more lights you have. So that you scroll through. So now I can turn the fridge down. Obviously, the more lights you've got, the colder it's going to be. You just keep pressing it, it will bring up different modes. Once again, just check it out in the manual. Oops. So you can set all the different settings, silent mode, so it doesn't show a display. You can go to eco mode. Eco mode is going to be just energy conserving. Turbo mode will just pull it down really quick. But just go through the manual, understand how it works. These are self-locking, so you don't have manual locking mechanisms.
Just put this in the drawer.
Bit of conversation from running.
I'm just going to put this in the drawer so that all the manuals on the same place.
Spare seal, by the looks of it. And I think the other bit is so you, in theory you can swap sides that it opens up.
Oh yes.
Obviously, and got a reusable cable tie. For spare bits. Yeah. Does what a fridge does.
Yeah. As it keeps the beer cold, it's good.
Yeah, so it's got a plastic protector on there, so you can peel that off. I'll just leave stuff on. Underneath here, you've got your water pump. Down there. You've got 2 isolator taps. You can isolate each tank.
Okay.
Once again, I can't see which tank's which because they plummet up different every time. Basically, if it's in line, it's on, so you can isolate one tank. What it does is it siphons from both tanks simultaneously. So maybe you want to keep one tank as like a ballast, or some people use one tank for the water they know, like you put the water in from home.
Yeah.
Other water you pick up along the road, you don't want to contaminate stuff, so you can isolate one or whatever. There is a strainer filter. That's quite a coarse one, so it just stops rocks coming through the line. So just periodically test that. If your flow slows down, check the kidney stones.
So you can put a button in
Inline.
kind of inline there, or would you put it sort of as your?
You can put it in line underneath.
Yeah.
Because if you get under the van, these 2 lines will be right there.
Yeah.
When you could potentially put one right here.
Yeah.
And you could put one on your tap for drinking water as well.
Yeah.
In line.
See, there's a horrible kink there on that part. That's not going to work very well. This one here.
That one? Okay.
I was putting an elbow on that. That's no.
No, I wouldn't check that. See if Darren can loosen this off and just get it going up a bit better. Generally you hear that pump kick in as soon as you turn that on. Here we go. I'll go through this hatch. So once again, this has an independent light switch right there. These are magnetised screens so that they can be quite, stuck together.
Yep.
Don't travel these closed. Otherwise the fabric will sag and it will be a bad day. You separate those. Simply opens. Once again, these are plastic, so you just got to be a bit careful with them. Press the 2 red buttons to open it up, and you can open it all the way. If it's windy, obviously that's a big air brake. So if you want to have it open, you can locate it there. 2 black levers, locks that in position, and you can do that.
Cool.
Once again, there are sort of 2 settings. You can probably see from your side. You can lock it on that first setting, and that's just opens at 15mm. Lock it either side. Otherwise, pull it down, lock it, and then these keepers just hold that arm. Yep. That's pretty much it. In the bath, in the ensuite here, you've got an extraction fan. As counterclockwise, opens up. In the front position, it's blowing air in. Middle position's off. Rear position sucking air out. So in theory, you could have the hatch just open, put that forward, it's blowing air in here. If you're going on a really dusty road, it'll give a positive air pressure into the thing. So some people do that. Once again, wind it down. Once it's tight, stop. It's plastic, so towel roll, dunny roll holder. Washing machine. This is quite firm to undo. Push to the left over the toilet. Got a spot for your baskets. There's a water tap down here, which turn on. Just keep an eye on the connections, the hose connections, just for weeping.
Yeah.
So there's 2 connections there. Water on, you can hear it go glug. So it does everything a washing machine does. There is a foam insert that most people retain.
Stop from jumping around the travel. Yeah.
You can put your washing liquids or something in there. Store them in there.
Good.
So yeah, it will be quite firm. You've got 2 power points up the top left hand corner. Overhead cupboards. The cassette toilet, silver handle we saw on the outside. So your indicator lights, this top left one, is if the cassette's not located properly or locked in, that'll go red and you can't use the unit. You've got levels, excuse me. That looks about halfway, that's more like about 75%.
Alright.
And then once it gets to there, don't use it.
Yeah.
You'll ignore it falls that one. So one of the hacks online is a lot of people have a spray bottle with either dilution of the chemicals or disinfectant. If you get over wee, just spray it, don't flush it.
Yeah.
Every time you flush it, you're putting
Yeah, more and more stuff in there. Yeah.
So open the lever. Notice the aperture's open. Then you can put your water, put your litre of water in, put your chemicals in there.
Yeah.
Now the seat is turnable. Some vans, it makes sense to angle it a bit. Flush. And just shut that so then it contains everything.
Yeah.
You don't want to be towing with it open, it'll splash around. That's pretty much it really on that one. You mix the tap. Hot water should be getting hot by now. Takes about 20 minutes to half an hour, depends on ambient temperature, etc, etc. It's getting hot now, so just starting to warm up.
Yeah, it's good. Got a nice water flow actually.
Push button plug hole. Yours is a swivel tap. You get your light switches up here. One's for your toilet, one's for your shower. Towel roll. You've got your lock for your shower. This knob will come loose. Be good to have a slightly bigger knob so you can actually lock it shut.
I'll probably get a bit of
So that's open, just make sure it's locked for travel. Open that. There is another catch up here, a little black one, and that's smaller just a keeper. So when it just sort of holds the door so it won't swing open. Doesn't really lock or anything. Once again, you've got your
same extractor fan.
Up there. Most people put a mat with a bucket, drop your shower head into the bucket, leave it on the floor. They can't fall anywhere then. Because the other thing is this will swing against the fiberglass and it'll leave marks and whatever.
And people say they put a pool noodle somewhere around. What do they do?
Yeah, well, what they do, they put a pool noodle on that hose and it stops it rubbing.
Yeah. Put a pool noodle on the door or something, or stop it from slamming. Or
yeah, it's probably this door. So that's only has one seam, but in that corner, so the whole thing's sealed unit, so they're pretty good. Your plug floating around the bottom there.
Okay.
Locked. Ensuite door. Unlock it on the outside, the little catch on the outside here. Oh, it's unlocked already. Right, so press that on the outside and you hear it click.
Yep.
They tend to be a bit stiff to shut. They got like a bit of a keeper mechanism. So one thing you don't want is this door to be flapping around. This is probably where the pool noodles come in. So when you lock it, you just press that the round bit into the hole. People put pool noodles anywhere. You can put a drop catch on the door. I've heard of people just drill straight through here, put a peg in there. You want this door retained. It's a big heavy door. If you're towing and it's slapping around, it's going to take your glass out. And the other thing, if they slam shut too hard, you won't be able to open it. It actually comes off the rail. So we had someone that had a van delivered in Perth, and they couldn't actually open the door. It's a big heavy door, so it is good to have a secondary
So it'll travel
safety.
It'll travel with it like that now.
Correct. Yep. So it's going to be fully open and secured. I'm thinking that's about it internally, except for the your footrest. Obviously, the cushions attached. So under here, you've got your trifold table. It comes out. Most people put a stubby cooler on the leg. It has a slight adjustment on it. Stubby cooler will stop it from damaging the floor in that position. Always travel with it closed like this. And the other thing it will do is it will stop it from knocking against the cupboard.
With the stubby cooler.
So you got the foam rubber. There's potential for that to knock. You've got storage under your seating, so you can remove the cushions. There's storage underneath. It's just a hatch. I call these card cupboards. All your small bits in there. You got 240 volts. Once again, USBs, 240 volt USBs. 12 volt out. With the footrest, they lift up and lock, and in here, there's these chrome levers just here, the front, press them up, and they'll go down. So they lock in pretty good. Obviously there's a weight limit. I don't know if they rate what it is, but
take a leg.
don't sit on it. So then obviously those cushions velcro into there. So the power management unit, you've got a mains 240 volt. That's the circuit breaker. Turns everything off. It's back on. Periodically test that. This will be hooked up for your inverter, so you can test that as well. This unit here, pretty much you don't have to touch anything, unless you want to change the orientation of the sender units for the tanks, the water tanks, and you work out. This one's my front tank, and you want to change it, you can switch these around. Pretty much this unit you don't touch. I do believe if you blow a fuse, the red indicator light comes on one of them, but we've never had blown fuse. Power for this unit, or power for this unit, so you can isolate it. If you did go down the path of lithium, take this cover off, these 2 thumb screws. There's 4 dip switches around about here. Number 3 is going to be on, and that's lithium compatible. That's about the only thing you need to do.
I presume these are your batteries coming in and out?
Yep, so
solar and things?
So in theory you can tap into, that'll all be in the manual. Pretty much nobody touches that unless you want to redivert stuff like so say if your air conditioner, your hot water service or your fridge is not working, everything's off now. Everything's isolated. So if your aircon's not working, just check this. Your fridge isn't working, check that. Hot water service, so if that's on electric. Now, if you want to go to gas, you turn that off, turn that one on. Don't have them both on at the same time because you'll burn the element out. But you can switch between the two. I think that's about it. In the drawer there, you should have some spare fuses. Sometimes I throw them in, sometimes I don't. There we go. Some of that. Fuse remover, spare fuses. It's probably good to keep them up in that cupboard. Or we'll have maybe a container that lives up here with these spare bits for all that sort of thing. Keep them up there. That's pretty much it for that. Make sure you're adjusting the handles. That's pretty much it, interior. Did you have any questions? That's working properly. Sometimes it takes about...
That's gone green again, is it?
Yeah. So when it goes red, it's saying out. Now it's calibrating itself. Once it's green, it's all good. It can take a few minutes for it to reset. So that's all good. D-shackles. I don't even know if we've got any left here. We shoot 3 D-shackles.
I brought it down just in case there was something nice to see on the way down. All right, let's go.
So with the awning, there's only 2 points you need to undo to retract it, but it's also important to make sure these 2 are locked and tight before towing. So clockwise, just back it off 1 turn, just so it's loose. If you keep undoing it, you lose the nut, and your nut will fall in your leg. It's going to be a bad day. So just back that off 1 turn, unhitch the grey. That's in theory now it's ready to come down. You'll probably need your little tool out of here.
Yep.
Because it's a high van. Just up here, there's a lever. You use your hook to pull that down. So if you think in the down position, it's coming down. So that means it'll ratchet down. In the up position, it will retract back that way. So if it's not restrained, it will just go back. Find your strap here, hook on, and away you go, pull out. Now this will come out about 8 feet. Once you see your valance, stop. You don't want to pull it out all the way out, otherwise you lose that spring tension and you won't be able to retract it. You can keep opening up till you see this. There's a spline here. That's where you can slide in a privacy screen, etc. And it only comes in from this end. So you want it down to about the 6 o'clock position. That's your maximum. Yep. So from here. These legs, you need it out a certain distance before this will slide up. If you don't have it, if you only have it about here, you get to a point it will lock up. These just slide up and get retained by a grey clip here, and the grey clip there. If you smash into it, it can separate and it will fall apart. To release it, you just press it down from the inside, and they'll slide back down. That's up, locked and loaded.
Yep.
So from here, if you just want to leave it attached to the van, you can just undo this mechanism here. Tighten these up first. Well, climb it up now. So I always have a step ladder, short step ladder. You can use that as is now. So literally 10 seconds. If you're just pulling up on the side of the road, you can pull up, put chairs out. Just be aware you've got these arms here. You walk into them, etc. If it gets really windy, put it away. They're not. You can tether them down with guy ropes, etc., and it'll be pretty solid. But if it gets really excessively windy, just put it away. They're not designed to withstand huge amounts of wind. If you've got a light shower, what you can do is drop one side. Gives you a bit of runoff. There are different. You can get curved roof rails. There's a lot of different things. You get anti-flap kits, which they attach to here and then attach to the bar. That'll stop the fabric. You get a wind and it will flap away. So there's aftermarket accessories. The curved roof rails on something this size, you need at least 2. They're not hard to fit. It's just a couple of brackets, and you just need to drill a hole in here. They can all be done retro. So from here, you want to detach it. There's a grey lever just here. Press that in. This can generally be done with one person. You probably want to drop that down a bit because it's a bit oily.
Just screw that down on the ground.
A couple of pegs.
Yep.
And That's it. So from there you can slide in a privacy screen. And they're cheap, pretty cheap.
6 mil, 5 mil.
6 mil spline on that. Yep. But generally, you just measure in between and work out the size you need, and they'll come out about 8 feet as well. You can get sides as well. They're shaped, tapered side. Nobody really buys annexes these days. I mean, you can buy an annex, cost you about $2,500–3,000. But the shade mesh privacy screens will keep wind out, dust, give you a bit of privacy, keep the sun off. They do pretty much, if the rain hits it, it'll just run down. So they pretty much do most. You can get draft curtains made, but that's you go to a canvas company or something like that. They don't actually offer a draft curtain. But I know from previous experience you get dirt and dust and sand blowing in from the other side. It stings your legs. Or
we've got one on our camper trailer. So.
Yep. So there's a couple of local places up, but trying to think of a place up your way.
All the camera guys who do covers for boats and shit like that, they'll definitely be able to do that.
Yeah. Yep. That's pretty much it.
And trimmers. Okay.
So to go back in, grab your leg, just go in and just push it into that camper. Make sure those click. Back off here. It will go down. Drop it down as far as it will go. Back the side arms off. Press your grey lever. And just leave that undone. It does pay to periodically just give them a hose off or clean. Just make it last longer. You shouldn't, if you look after it, 10–15 years, depends how exposed it is. It's usually that last bit that's left exposed that will break down. But if you get salt spray and stuff on it, hose it down. This strap, you'll probably find if you just leave it hanging, the wind will blow it and it'll fly that way, and it may come out of that. That just slides back in. So with the strap, sort of get it all flat. You'll notice on here there's a line, and that's from when they roll it up, the strap rolls on top of itself, it gets thicker and thicker. So just as you roll it up, just scroll it from side to side gently, and it just spreads it, and it won't leave that mark. That mark will come out in the sun. So you always want the strap on this end. And once you release this lever, it's now under spring tension. If you let go of it, it's going to go south. So grab the strap, pull it back, just take the tension off. Flip that forward. Right. And now she's under spring tension. As you go in, just make sure the valance it'll tuck itself in like that. Go in. Use the step or whatever. That's what that tool's for, but sometimes it's just easy to just do that. Leave that lever in that position, that way the spring tension's against the van. Lock and load, lock that down, do that up counterclockwise, make sure it's nice and tight. Same this side. Lock it down. Nice and tight, and that's one of the pre-travel checklists. Just give the leg a wobble just to make sure it's secured in the keeper. Give it a wobble, and that's pretty much about it. Once you do it a couple of times, there are videos available on YouTube. Because you can get at a certain point where you shut the door, push the handle all the way to the right towards the handle, which engages those locks. Chips, If you don't do that, it won't lock. Right around to your right, locked. So that's the big silver key, that's your main door key. All your hatches usually have all the same keys. Right. Looks like they do. So the hatch keys, the black oval shaped ones. And around to your right, they can be a bit stiff and clunky from new. locked, locked. Front boot is the little hexagonal. That's already locked, but yeah. Round to your right. Front boot. Water tanks usually have two separate keys, and they're the ones with the silver cutouts. You work out which one's which. Once they're locked, they just spin. So a bit of nail polish to colour coordinate, and you'll be set. All good. Toilet. Yeah. Had trouble with one of these yesterday. That's pretty much it. So out of all those keys, I think you use 4 of them, and you got 2 sets.
Good. Yeah.
So.